Welcome to the Titans Midweek Report from Kuharsky.com. I'm Sammy Mammo, your host, here with Paul to discuss some topics, Titans topics from that have developed around the week. Apologies for coming to you guys a day late. I had sick family, sick kids, sick everybody. So sorry for coming to you on a Thursday and early instead of on a Wednesday evening afternoon. Let's hop into it, Paul. First things first, I saw Sneed to injured reserve. Has he played his last down as a Titan?
Yeah, I mean, it's hard to jump to that conclusion. I know everybody would like it to be the end. They're obviously very thin at cornerback, so they could use him back if don't know how long term it is. Mike McCoy doesn't lend much information on these fronts. Haven't heard much behind the scenes. Worst case scenario for him than Jeffery Simmons, obviously. But not going to be around for at least 4 weeks. Don't know how related it is or how similar it is to the last quad injury. Last quad injury was started with a really bad bone bruise, and got more serious, I think, as things went. Don't know if this is a strain or what. So we'll see. But obviously that trade looks worse and worse. I mean, he was playing very poorly. And there were coverage issues around him on some of those plays and all of that. But if you're asking the guy to be your big time number one corner, he wasn't making big time number one corner plays. He did some good things early in the year that was trending down. And obviously the Titans should be regretting that trade, not just giving up the third round pick, but the salary that they gave him. So it was a real bust move by the Rain Carthon regime. Brinker, a co-signer in some sense on that. Jarvis Brownlee playing a good nickel. Nickel job obviously not open here with Roger McCreary. But now you're down to Jalen Armour-Davis, who's been really bad. And you would maybe Marcus Harris gets the chance here. I think more likely Darrell Baker. That's a really thin secondary. The safeties haven't been playing very well in support. Amani Hooker not having a good year.
Not at all.
I think people should look back at PaulKuharsky.com. The film review by Drew Beatty this week was on the secondary troubles and took specific looks at Hooker, at Sneed, at Roger McCreary, who's been actually rather good, and at Jalen Armour-Davis, who's been bad. If you want to see film of those guys and their struggles spelled out, it's a great pick. Womack, could be closer definitely to getting a shot, but I don't think he. I don't think he's in line to play unless they've got an injury. And I think we'll see even more of the safeties helping.
Yep. You mentioned Brownlee's not here anymore. Sneed's on IR. Jeff is week to week, according to the coaching staff, which I take to mean he's not playing this week. We'll see about next week. And Femi's on IR. We're pretty beat up. The defense wasn't great to begin with, and now you're down who are the guys who should be theoretically your two best defensive players, going into a really hot Colts team who with Jonathan Taylor, who's running the ball. It's ridiculous what they're doing over there. It leaves me a little concerned, Paul. I mean, we knew they didn't have depth coming into it, and injuries have been, an Achilles heel of this team for 5 years now. Is it getting to the point now where it's really just about looking at the young kids and play Winston and let me see him have a good game or have fun, or what are we looking for here as fans?
Oladejo also is on a cart or a little scooter yesterday with that leg up. Leg fracture, not a serious one, but you wonder about the timetable there. Probably more than 4 weeks. Certainly one of the things to be, semi excited about. Denard Wilson came right out and said this week, they had a Winston package. They didn't get to it last week except for a couple of snaps. That's coming. Winston was of influence, at least on one of his plays. He got in the backfield and caused one of the rare incompletions from Drake May. So that was an encouraging play by him. I think you've got to get Winston on the field as much as you can. I think that probably means taking Diggs off the field. I don't know that Diggs is going to be excited to come off the field, but they need an injection of speed and energy into the secondary, whether they have him close to the line of scrimmage, dropping off and playing coverage. I think he'll probably do a variety of things. They could certainly use speed in the defensive backfield to get over and help all of these inexperienced and less than satisfying corners. I'd like to see him back there, and then maybe you're moving Hooker or Woods up into what's been more the Diggs role, closer to the line of scrimmage, and maybe
I like that idea,
covering the tight end or the running back. Those are going to be mismatches also. But I think Winston as a potential ray of light, young energy, all of that is something to potentially be a little bit excited about on a defense that delivers very little excitement. I would say Ward and Jones have come to life on what we thought would be a completely anemic pass rush. It's not very good, and they're going to lose out with Simmons not being out there. But those two guys have been better than I thought. I think they're the best trade chips the Titans have. I don't know what the value of them is, but if you're looking for pass rush help, you could do worse than those two.
Yeah, they've looked good the last really two weeks, and it was nice to see Sweat manage to get a sack even after Simmons went down. I don't disagree. Speaking of light, Cam Ward had a fun interaction with you guys yesterday that we didn't get to talk about yesterday because we're doing it today. I wanted to kind of give you the floor to talk about that, and then I saw that you needed to tweet a follow-up. So I just want to give you the floor for a minute. Talk about that and explain the follow-up and, kind of set the record straight.
Well, he had this prepped clearly. Either last week or the week before, he had his, play call wristband on him when he went to the podium. One of the PR guys reminded him, hey, and, he Velcroed that off and gave it to him. Yesterday he got that reminder and he said he's going to keep it, and he put it down on the podium. So this was clearly a bit that he had planned out in his head. And so when we finished, and again, he's very good at the podium, does not get defensive about all of the things that we're asking about, which, mad respect to a young guy who's got a lot of reasons to be down and is facing a lot of questions about what's wrong with this and why aren't you doing that. And he stays light and he answers questions, honestly and candidly, and is, fair in judging himself. He says, is it my turn to question you guys? And, sure, and he said, let's see if you could repeat one of these play calls. And he started to give one, and then he ended up giving a really long one, and all of us were like, I think a lot of us were really trying to, maybe we had the first 5 words down, and then when he kept going double that, we're like, no way. I said, no chance. And then he looked, kind of in my direction. And he said, here's a, more simple, a base one. And he rattled that off. And I said, no chance. And he kind of laughed at us. And as he walked away, he said, you just got me sacked, Paul. Now, this was a delightful interaction. That was a playful moment, where he was just giving us example of how hard it is. By the way, I still don't understand why it needs to be that difficult. He obviously can handle it, but there are some guys who come into the league and can't. And I applaud coaches who are able to simplify it. This got picked up and went all over the place, as I suspected it would. But some people cast it as like, here's a rookie quarterback having a hard time being defensive. Like, hey, you guys can't even repeat a play that I do. How could you even comprehend the struggles that I'm going through? Which is such weak work. I mean, if you watch the clip, there's a load of laughter from both sides at the end of it. It's clearly lighthearted. And anybody that's trying to cast it as him being defensive or throwing something back in our face just does such a disservice, because it's completely possible that a couple of those things add up. And he says, why should I even try if it's going to be misinterpreted on a national scale and they're going to try to make me look like an ass when I'm not being an ass, then I won't even engage on this level. And it's just such a mistake. And so I think all of us, I was kind of late to it, but a bunch of other people in the media corps had already put out, like, if you don't get it, he's joking around, you're really missing the point. And I added to the echo. And I'm glad to see that tweet also got a lot of attention. That if you're Dov Kleinman and you're just picking this up and putting it out and you're feeling some kind of negativity from it, you're just missing the boat.
Yeah. Yeah. I got a kick out of it. I thought it was fun. I liked your response. I could tell other people were enjoying it too. So, no, that was fun. It was fun to see his personality a little bit. Onto the field. I tell you what, Paul, for like a quarter and a half, I was thinking some dangerous thoughts about what was where we were going with Mike McCoy, and then things went off the rails a little bit. But it was easily Cam's best start to a game. What can they do to help him sustain that? Right? Why does it go off the rails for him? Why do we have these killer turnovers?
They don't have any answers about why it goes off the rails. It was encouraging. They came out. They made the kind of throws that you say, where's that been? Early stuff to Gunnar Helm, easy first downs. Again, I think Cam got into the thing where he passed up some easy stuff to go for some harder stuff. Then the second half turnovers, obviously, he can't drop the ball. He knows that. Everybody knows that. There was no conversation about his hand size. I am not a draftnik. You know that. I read good people on the draft. I have some guys that are good draft guys who do draft stuff for me. Nowhere did I see a conversation about Cam Ward's hand size. And it's not that much bigger. His hands are not that much bigger than Kenny Pickett. And we talked about Kenny Pickett's hands for 2.5 months.
Correct.
So where are those guys on raising it as a potential issue? It's certainly part of it. I mean, if he has bigger hands, the ball isn't going to fall out of his hands as easily as it's been falling out of his hands. He can't have turnovers like that. He cannot. He knows it. Coaching staff knows it. You and I know it. Everybody knows it. The second one, the turnover, he throws too many balls behind guys, which is, maybe partially timing. Go ahead.
I wanted to ask you on that one because this is the second time this has happened with Chig. And both times, it looks like Chig sits down. It looks like he has found his soft spot in the zone, and Cam starts to throw it, and then Chig moves, and the ball goes to where Chig sat. Is it possible? I don't know if it's been asked or you've had the chance, but I swear this one, I think he threw it to Chig, and Chig moved.
Yeah,
and then the ball's behind Chig.
We're not getting a definitive answer on that, but he's not only throwing it behind Chig. He's been behind Isle Manor on occasion.
Correct,
he's been behind other people. It's an issue, generally speaking, and it's part of his completion percentage problem. And then a guy's doing everything he can to get his hands on it. It goes off of his hands. Every team is practicing tip ball situations, and a decent share of NFL interceptions come out of these, and it's creating turnover problems for the Titans. I thought Cam played a better game overall. You can't extract the turnovers, but his completion percentage was up. His yards per attempt was up. His passer rating, I think, was the best of all season. Yardage was the second best of all season. I thought it was we've been talking about looking for incremental improvements from him.
Yep.
You don't like the turnovers, but in the raw numbers, there was incremental improvement from him here. And that's why after a week of kind of anticipating them getting bashed and writing about the mistake with Vrabel and all of that, I came out of it and wrote, I don't think he's Drake May. I don't think he's going to be Drake May. I think Drake May's on a hell of a course to be awfully good and in a great really coaching situation now. But Drake May wasn't great as a rookie, not as bad as Cam has been. And second year, gets a better head coach, gets a great offensive coordinator. If the Titans could do the same for Cam Ward, and we all know the questions about having faith in them being able to do so. But if they can do that for Cam Ward, maybe a year from now, we're looking at 7 games into Cam Ward year 2 and feeling like
Yeah.
As a lesser player, he at least is on a Drake May-like course. That's not
Yeah.
inconceivable. And there are just too many people 7 games in
Oh my
that want to
God.
offer a decree about Cam Ward. And also J.C. Latham. Look, J.C. Latham's been crap his last 2 games back, but I'm sure a good part of recovering from a hip injury is not doing a lot of moving around. And he's
Yeah.
not moving around really well yet. And it's a little early, a lot
I'm glad you
early to
brought him
say,
up.
hey, let's move J.C. Latham to guard and look for another right tackle. Got to have some time and some patience. Still, it's asking for a ton of patience, but it's what the Titans need. Latham needs to play a month at right tackle now with his hip better and his mobility back and see what he is. Now, I don't question Cam Ward's work. I think J.C. Latham sometimes it seems to be Jeff Simmons stopped practice, the report was, because Latham wasn't getting it done. Let's see if Latham is hell-bent on getting good the way Cam Ward is.
If you're going to call yourself the Trench King, I want you to work like it, right? Like,
Yeah.
But I, at the same time, I do think that the discourse has been crazy, right? If he plays the rest of the year and just is struggling, then in the offseason, a new staff can evaluate what you do with him, going forward. But no, let the guy settle in. He's played like 2.5 games this year, basically 3 games this year.
Here's a quick sales pitch for PaulKuharsky.com. Members of the site, this pod popped up at kind of a random time. You got a text message about when it was, and I know some of you are in here because you got your attention called to it from that text message. Earlier this week, you read Blake Benningfield, a scouting report out of the game, tells you what exactly Cam is doing wrong and what he's doing right and why J.C. Latham looks like it does, and a scouting report on Peter Skoronski and a whole bunch of stuff out of the game from a guy that scouted for the Titans for 19 years and helped make sure they drafted Derrick Henry. That's a documented story. Drew Beatty with the film review of all those people in the secondary and what they did wrong in a bad secondary game. Expecting something from Mike Herndon here this week, who writes great analytical stuff. Braden Gall will have a look forward at what we should really be watching this weekend in college football and the developments that are important to the Titans that'll help shape what's going to be another crucial draft for the organization. Everything that I write, current spot open in the All-22, very rare. Sam's a member, about to close the deal on that. So if you're interested, email me at pkuharsky.com. That is the highest level you could be at the site. All that for $7.50 a month, price less than a cup of coffee, a cocktail, or a craft beer. Come join the fun.
All right. Yes, do that. Talking wide receivers now. Let's start with the piece you did today. Let's talk Restrepo, right? Because Lockett's gone, Oliver's hurt, Ridley's hurt. Who does that leave healthy? Iomanor, DK, Jefferson, Prochet, and Restrepo, including the practice squad guys, and Kinsey.
Yeah. So conceivable that 2 of them come up. Conceivable that only one of them comes up. Oliver doesn't seem ready. He didn't practice yesterday. I think people are really making a mistake leaving Oliver out. As soon as he's healthy, he's in the top 4 of that group. And I think with good reason, they have cause to have expectations from him. Didn't do a lot last year, but in what he did, showed a lot of promise. And he's the best gunner on the team by far. He's up and he's playing high quality special teams no matter what. Look, Kinsey, Prochet, Restrepo, it's a huge mistake that their 3 practice squad receivers are of the same ilk. They did sign another one today, whose name I've yet to fully plug in. I'm flipping over here to get it for you.
While you look
Lance McCutcheon signed to the practice squad. I think he's a second-year guy. He is bigger. He's a 6'2" guy. He went to Montana State, and he is a second year, so he's been somewhere and has some, at least, experience practicing. Go ahead. What do you got?
What happened with Matt Landers, the guy they brought in?
He got hurt. Yeah, he got hurt during training camp. He's very much a basketball player. He looked the part, but I don't know that he was going to be a great receiver prospect. But he's somebody that might have been on the practice squad. Look, they're going to call up one of these guys, maybe two this weekend. I think Kinsey can clearly do the most on special teams, which people completely erase. Somebody's asking me here about Restrepo. Why can't he play special teams? He played them in college, 338 special team snaps. They're saying he's not an NFL special teamer. You need to look. And Fassel will say he is. Fassel says that about everybody. He's Mr. Positive. People in the organization have told me, like, it's what makes him great. But also, you ask a question like that, you have to take the response with a grain of salt. Look, this guy is going to probably play 10 snaps. I think Kinsey maybe played 4 snaps at receiver last week. I wrote this morning about the tension between the media and the fans on Restrepo. I just don't understand why people are so into somebody that's going to play 4 to 10 snaps. They think he's going to come in and revolutionize this offense somehow. I do see one thing that Restrepo maybe could do if he gets those couple snaps. Cam has a tendency to overlook the short guy, to go for something bigger, and maybe this chemistry with Restrepo, maybe he's got some magnetic pull that will pull him to throw some shorter stuff that they need, that gets them in 2nd and 4 or 3rd and 2, which they need to be in more often. But that doesn't excuse him for passing on it when it's Ben Tyler Lockett or when it's Chim DK or whoever else. It doesn't need to be Xavier Restrepo. And look, Restrepo ranks very lowly here. And you maybe don't trust the judgment of these people to rank people, but those low-ranking people make it on merit. And to Fossil, he said, they make it on how long have you been struggling to get up. And Restrepo ranks the lowest on all of that. I'm sorry.
I heard that from Fossil, and I think that was the first time I've heard that, or at least the first time in a long time. And I was like, kind of like, okay, well, there's an argument that, like, I can't really take apart, right? And I don't know that I can explain the Titans fan obsession, but from my point of view, it's like, look, this year's not going anywhere. The receivers are beat up. Like, yeah, sure, maybe you put Restrepo out there and it's only 4 to 10 plays, and maybe he sucks, but maybe he doesn't. He's played with Cam. They have a rapport. He didn't seem to have the problem catching Cam's weird angled throws and all this stuff in college. Like, just maybe. You're not going to catch lightning in a bottle. I'm not saying he's going to be Wes Welker and catch 130 balls and play the slot for 15 years, but maybe he can make a few plays and help Cam out in his rookie year.
Maybe. I mean, I watched his Miami highlights, and the guy had an incredible amount of space to catch the ball in and to run into, and that's not life in the NFL.
That's true.
So it's not going to have that. He's not gonna have that here. So maybe he gets a chance. I heard he was going to get more, probably get more snaps with the ones, but he's also playing the part of Michael Pittman in practice, and that's where the Titans
which is
are.
so backwards.
They've got a 5'11" or 5'10" guy playing the part of Michael Pittman.
Yeah, that's pretty 6'7".
Titans are so bad roster wise. They don't even have a scrub level guy with the physical qualities of Michael Pittman to play the part of Michael Pittman.
No. From the undrafted rookie receiver to the highest drafted rookie receiver, DK, best game by far last week, catching things down the field, good, impressive. It was very encouraging to see. Obviously, we'll be seeing more of him with the injuries and Lockett being gone. But I've seen a lot of tweets and people are talking a lot about this all-purpose yardage ranking, him leading the NFL in all-purpose yardage. Just how impressive or not is it that he is leading the NFL in all-purpose yards, about a third of the way through the year?
I mean, it's nice, but how many more punts and kicks has he fielded because of the Titans' offensive woes and because they're getting scored on? I need to look at it in the context of how frequently he's touching the ball on special teams. And so, be more significant at the end of the season, and still, if it comes as a result of him fielding 15% more or 20% more balls as a returner than anybody else, I think you got to mention that
Yeah.
when you're mentioning it.
Safe to expect a lot more 2 tight ends against Indy based on the receiver chart.
Well, I would think that would be another way to help pass protect. And look, I mean, I think the DK stuff was really nice last week. He's your fastest guy if Ridley's not out there, and can do some things after the catch. Who's another guy that can do some things after the catch? Chig.
Yeah.
Now, before last week, they were averaging fewer than 4 receptions a game to Chig Conquo. Last week, I think they got it to him once, and they didn't target him. He wasn't featured.
Helm had a better game.
Yeah, you got to have a game where you can get it to all of those people. But I think Chig running after the catch is one of the best things they've got going. And I don't see why they don't seem to recognize that to the degree they should in terms of using it. I think it should be one of the top things that they lean on.
I agree.
More to Spears, more to him, more to Helm.
Spears,
those are the guys. Look,
I like
Manor,
Pollard.
DK, Spears, Chig, Helm. Those 5.
Yeah. I like Pollard, but Spears looks like he's got a whole different kind of juice.
Way more juice.
Since he's been healthy than Pollard. Yeah. I think they've got to, not saying you get rid of Pollard or you cut him out, but you've got to get much closer to 50-50, I think, with those 2 guys.
And I think you lose this game first and foremost on defense.
And I was just going to go to that.
The Colts are moving the ball at ridiculous rates. There's some stats out there that are just preposterous about what they're doing, running the ball. And now, as you started off with, they're down Simmons, they're down Sneed, and they're generally
they're down Femi, right? And it is what with the injury status. I'm not optimistic. I don't see a path to a victory, right? So I'm like, what are we looking for in this game, right? So for me, it's like Sweat. What can you do? I want to see more of Winston, the rookie pass catchers, and Ward. A chance for Latham to have a bounce back game. Like that's where I'm at as a fan, is like looking for like individual players to like show me something.
And don't do anything conservative. If you've got a chance to push for a field goal, no matter what the score is before half, go do it. Don't play scared. There's no reason to play scared anymore.
I agree.
It's just ridiculous.
I agree.
So I don't want to see that or hear that from Mike McCoy, but I don't have faith. I think that's sewn into the fabric of the uniforms right now and the coaching visors or whatever. And there's no getting away from it. We're going to call it here, Sammy. You got one more?
One last super quick thing, just because I'm sure it'll be a topic of discussion after this week based on who we're playing. The linebackers, right? Barton, really, really rough, like almost unwatchable. And then Cedric Gray, I think now 3rd in the league in tackles. Kind of similar with DK. How impressive is that? And how worried are we about Barton? And then,
Cedric Gray is one of the few revelations on this team. I talked to him the other day, and I'll run some video of him tomorrow on the full edition of the Paul Kuharsky podcast, just about him having what he felt like was a breakthrough moment and then being able to carry it over and sustain it. And what is it now, 3 or 4 games in a row where he's established like he's got that job and he can handle it. Barton looks slow and sometimes confused. That 4th and 1 was poor. He said he's playing the coverage that's called. Denard said there was a coverage change that was called that wasn't communicated. Well, why is the coverage in the first place that had guys playing 5 and 6 yards off the marker, which is 1 yard marker? I mean, if you're going to let them get the first down, make them get the first down well beyond the marker instead of right at the marker. It's just bad defense all around. Let's see some sounder decisions and some smarter football, even if you're going to lose by, what's the spread? 14 and a half.
Yeah.
I'd be staying away from that in fear, because the Colts are completely capable of doing that.
I mean, Jonathan Taylor is scoring 21 points a game more often than not. So then you got the rest of the Colts to worry about.
Just silly. He's Sam Mamou. I am Paul Kuharsky of paulkuharsky.com. Come join all the fun at the best Tennessee Titans website out there. We do the midweek report generally on Wednesdays at 4 Central. We'll see you there again. I'll do the Paul Kuharsky podcast Friday, 10:30 live from Edley's Barbecue at 12 South. I'll see you then. And then again from the press box at Lucas Oil Stadium sometime after the Colts finish doing whatever they're going to do to the Titans. We'll see you then. Don't block the box, and be sure, please, to lock your locks.